All right, ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. Donald Trump has apparently signed the bill that unanimously passed the House and the Senate to release the Epstein Files. This is breaking news just coming in.
This is Eyewitness News with live breaking news.
Breaking news from Washington. President Donald Trump has signed the bill to release the files on Jeffrey Epstein. The bill was passed by both houses of Congress and sent to the president's desk this evening. The president had been against releasing the files for some time and then decided just in the last couple of days that he was for it and wanted to make sure that both houses of Congress knew that he would sign that bill if it got to his desk. It did, and he has now signed it.
Still unclear what the release of those files will look like, though. We know that the identities of victims will be redacted and so many information on current investigations. Now, there were no current investigations until the president a couple of days ago ordered a new investigation into Epstein's relationships with notable Democrats. The DOJ now conducting that. So some concern about just how much information will be released in these Epstein files now that the president has signed it.
Should we be glad about it? Oh, no, absolutely not. This is nothing but a trick. This is a trick. You know, I know it's a trick because they just told us not many months ago that there was nothing else to see here. You guys remember when Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and all those goons came out and said, what? They went on TMZ, they went on Fox News, they went everywhere the clown show could go to tell people that there was nothing to see, which started the rifts that we now see in MAGA, because even their followers and their supporters were like, that's not what you said last time. Because last time, Pam Bondi said that there were files on her desk with so much salacious information in it, it would blow our minds. And she said that she had basically looked at them, right? And then all of a sudden, there was nothing to see. Okay. Then fast forward. Once pressure began to build up in Congress, remember, the public, we already was saying, show us the files. We don't care if it's Democrats in the files. We don't care if it's Republicans in the files. We want to see the files. We, the people, have always been on the same page. We don't care who it is. Just show us. But the Trump administration has been hell-bent on impossible for us to know the actual truth because they have something to hide. Donald Trump has something to hide. So they said there was nothing to see here, which pissed off the MAGA. So fast forward, the MAGA base is pissed off. You start seeing defections. You start seeing people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, different senators on the Republican side start to come forward and be like, you should go ahead and do that. That's a thing. We know that we've allowed you to do a lot, right? We've allowed you to get away with everything under the sun. We have capitulated to your authoritarianism. We have sold our souls to the MAGA devil for you, because at the end of the day, the core of every nasty, corrupt politician is winning the next election by any means. So as long as Donald Trump had this cult-like grip on the Republican Party, they were going to do anything they could to make sure they got reelected, no matter how crazy or how radical their constituents became. But the one thing those constituents did not do is change their minds about how we all feel about child abuse. Okay? Now, these people drew a line. Like, look, we're not budging. They even called Lauren Boebert into They called her into the Situation Room. Of all the rooms, the Situation Room. We found out the reason they called her to the Situation Room because the Situation Room is designed in such a way that even if you're trying to record, your signal will be scrambled and you cannot record. It's soundproof, things like that. Because they wanted to convince her. We don't know what they said. She didn't tell us what they said. But the idea was to convince her to change her mind about this vote. And she said,
I know that you were.
Yeah, I love this production you guys have put on, the situation room and whatnot. Like, y'all are serious. We are in the situation room. I see what y'all doing. But no, I'm not going to be able to not vote on this. This is the line. Then we saw the House Republicans en masse, once the vote came to the floor, vote to release the files with one abstention.
Nays are 1. 2/3 being in the affirmative. The rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Then we saw the Senate, by unanimous consent, at Chuck Schumer's urging, according to reports, pass their version unedited to release the files.
Breaking news in our politics lead, a major update on that Senate vote to release the Epstein Files. Let's get right to CNN's Manu Raju on Capitol Hill. We didn't even know if the Senate was going to take up the Epstein Files bill. What is playing out right now?
Yeah, just a couple weeks ago, it seemed like this bill was dead on arrival. Just a few days ago, it seemed like it was dead on arrival in the United States Senate. But now it is on its way to the president's desk in a remarkable turnaround in an
exact same version that this House passed. Supposedly, they wanted to be able to send the Senate bill back with changes and revisions to slow down, gum up the process. That didn't happen. Okay. Now we're at a stage where it gets to the president's desk. Donald Trump, before it got to his desk, before the House made a vote, before the Senate did what they did, Donald Trump encouraged Pam Bondi and them to reopen the investigation into the Democrats that were on the files. Why did they do that? They did that because they knew that there was a possibility, given how unpopular this president is, given the temperature in the country right now, given how Democrats have been dominating in the most recent elections, they know that the American people are not with the shits. So he made them reopen, even though it is asinine, ridiculous, and clearly a cover-up to anyone that has eyes. He encouraged, made Pam Bondi open up the investigation again into the Democrats that were listed, because when we got to the point in the scenario that we just witnessed, where the Senate and the House unanimously agreed that, bruh, this is a line, sorry, not sorry, you're gonna have to release those files. You're gonna have to come up off the files. You're gonna have to do that. He knew if that were to be the case, if that would be the scenario, you can only see the files if they're not a part of an active investigation. So we're not going to see the files. We don't even know if he actually signed the bill. He tweeted that he signed the bill. But every other time he signed a bill, it's a production. It's videotaped. Videotaped, that's how I'm showing my age. Every time, any other time he signs a bill, it's a production. This time, no production. I submit to you, and I guarantee you, we're not gonna see them files. Now, Congressman Massey and others have said, they warned that if you try to later release these files, Mr. Trump, it's gonna be a problem. Now that, I believe. Sound off in the comments. You think Donald Trump gonna release them files? Do you think he actually signed the bill into law to release those files? Do you actually think, if he did sign that bill, you don't think he got a way around it so that we'll never see what he has done in those files? Please like and share. We're on our way to 5,000, folks.